Good evening. At least it's evening here where I am. East coast of the US of A. If you're in Australia, it's the afternoon. It's early morning in the UK. And I don't know about Spain. We haven't heard from you, Spain. We haven't even heard from Maine yet. We do have lists of states and countries. We have one person joining us so far. Let me know where you are watching from. Name, rank, and serial number. Or if you don't want to talk about serial, talk about something else. Countries so far: the USA, Canada, Australia, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, South Africa, and the Netherlands. The Netherlands. That could be Holland, right? Um, I'm not sure where in the Netherlands. The UK, one person would be Michael. Hello, Michael, if you're watching. And also, in terms of states, Arkansas, Alabama, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Kansas, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina. Also, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Nevada, New Hampshire, Missouri, Indiana, Louisiana. Those are the states that we've heard from so far. Well, first one in is Heather O'Brien, who gave us the wide in Worldwide Ramblings, saying happy birthday to me. I appreciate that very much, to all the birthday wishes that were on the promo for this live stream. Now, the live stream on a Tuesday night is not likely to be as popular as on a Saturday night. I get that. We'll see how it goes. This is a test. Usually we do Wednesday night and we do Saturday night, but can't do Wednesday night this week because I've got to be up real early Thursday morning to get to Hackensack Hospital with Karen for her surgery. Here come some people. We have, besides Heather, we have Joseph Kelly. Happy born day, Mr. Jack. Yeah, 1956, a whole different world, Joseph, than it is now. I have an opening monologue tonight. It's brief. Don't worry. I won't go on and on and on. But I do have one. Alice Warner from South Carolina checks in. I love your state, Alice. I'm not sure what part of it you're in, but I certainly loved Walterboro, and I loved Rock Hill when I lived there, and was up in Columbia where they have a beautiful park. It's like almost as big as Central Park. Well, it's big. It's right in the heart of the city, right? In Columbia. And my former partner, we did a gig in that park. One of our early gigs was in Columbia, South Carolina. Then a whole lot of other small towns in South Carolina that I'd have to think about as to where we might be. Now, when I'm looking at the screen, I want to look with my long range glasses that are more recent than those because I can see better. Marianne Rossi is here. Hello, everyone. Shelly B, happy 67th birthday, Jack. Best wishes from Shelly B in Sydney, Australia. You're a sweetheart. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Jacqueline Carpenter, happy birthday to you. Thank you very much, Jacqueline and Robert. Yes, and Deborah Lake is here wishing a happy birthday. I didn't deliberately do this stream. I didn't change it to my birthday. It just happens that I couldn't do it Wednesday night, which would have been a day past my birthday, a day past. Thank you, Marianne Rossi. Thank you very much. I'll have to now. My dad. I've hit the age that my father died at, but he was 2 weeks away from 68 when he died. So I literally have to make it to early March of 2024 to beat him, to live longer than him. So I've got long way to go. These days the prescription drugs are much better, the testing is much better, the surgery techniques and all the discoveries we've made in medicine. All the various machines we have now that we didn't have then. Who could have had a cardiac MRI back in 1967? Not my father, that's for sure. He did have a heart condition, and I have cardiomyopathy, but it's very mild version. Very mild version. I did my walking today. First, I went to get my car inspected, my little Honda Fit inspected, and rotate the tires, and then uh, had a little lunch and came back here. Karen was busy getting a pedicure, and she had run to the local Italian bakery to get my birthday cake. Kind of a tradition: pineapple whipped cream, yellow cake, pineapple whipped cream cake. I had my first one in 1960. In 1960, so oh, Deborah Lake, born in 56 too, right? Yeah, it's just a great year, isn't it? I'm trying to think of some of the other people born in 1956. Becca is here. Happy birthday to you. Thank you so much, Becca. Is that short for Rebecca? We have a Becca here that is a hostess at our local diner sometimes. Beautiful young lady. And one of those ones that could be on television. She could be in the movies, that kind of thing. And her mom is a waitress at that same diner. Very, very nice woman as well. But uh, I always thought Becca, the short version, was very, very nice. Uh, so yeah. So I came back this afternoon, and this was like the best day of the year so far. I got to wear shorts, and I'm going to keep wearing them. I'm determined. That means it's going to snow 1 foot. I'm going to have to put the long pants back on. But I own about 15 pairs of shorts, and I'm not happy if I'm not wearing them. Unless I'm going somewhere fancy, then, of course, going to church. I don't wear shorts in church. Um, but yeah, I don't know when you were born, what month you were born, Becca, but I don't have, of course, memories of 56, but there were pictures. Someday I'll show a few of the pictures of the car that we had back then. My dad loved Pontiacs, I know. And then eventually, by the 60s, we got a Rambler, a 62 Rambler wagon. Not as great as the Pontiac, I can tell you that. Um, so yeah, it seems like our regulars are here, which on a Tuesday night, that is well. First of all, it's very gratifying that you showed up. I appreciate that, and a lot of people, have commitments, so we'll see how it goes. You just never know. We're on also an hour early, and a lot of people watch the replay. Now, I'm not putting the magic words in this one. Doesn't mean that you can't talk about it. We can talk about, no topics are banned here. Any reasonable topics. Somebody comes on and says they're a fan of NAMBLA. We won't be commenting on that. I won't for sure. Anybody remember what that stands for? Anybody remember that? My birthday was March 11th, and you're 69 years old. Well, happy delayed birthday, Jacqueline Carpenter. I'm thinking, when I hear the name Carpenter, well, I'm thinking of one of the greatest duos of all time, Karen Carpenter and Richard Carpenter, right? Yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking of the young lady from Dexter. What was her first name? Her last name is Carpenter. Jennifer Carpenter? I'm not sure. Got to think about that one. But I was a big fan of the Dexter show. Big fan of Dexter. What are the magic words, Jack? I haven't absolutely no idea, with three smiley faces. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. So we'll see. We'll see. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go off into a tangent. I'm not going to do it. Um, but I'm going to do my opening, and then, we'll open up. We can do more crushes, favorite songs, favorite albums, for that matter, favorite movies, and what have you. Um, and have some fun. Have some fun. That's what we're here to do. Uh, by the way, Shelly B gave me some great topics for the future. I appreciate you working so hard on that list, Shelly B, and we will use a lot of what you suggested in future shows. So I appreciate all the work you did on that. In Aussie land, we seem to have like 4 or 5 people now from Aussie land, at least 2 from Sydney. So maybe you want to get together and have a pot thai. How you take your Thai? I know. Have a pot thai. How you take your Thai? I know. I'm doing. This is not London, right? This is Arizona. What's the number one beverage? What's your favorite beverage? I'd like to hear that tonight as well. But before I get to that, I'm not going to look at the screen for a little bit. So hold that. If you have something for me, talk amongst yourselves. But um, going to do a little bit on the heading, gender fluid. Here we are in 2023. We can't ignore the topics of the day sometimes, every once in a while. And that follows with a monologue that I wrote. And it's short, it's brief. Don't worry, it doesn't go on. It's not like a Sean Hannity 20-minute opening monologue, and he can read it and you don't know he's reading it because he's on the radio and he does it, on his radio show. But it'll be more obvious that I'm reading my own work. But that's what it is. I had to look up. I wanted to see exactly what the definition of gender fluid was, since I'm hearing it in the news so much. It's denoting or relating to a person who does not identify as having a single, unchanging gender. Gender queer describes someone whose gender identity doesn't fit with the binary. What's the binary? Binary. What's binary? Relating to, composed of, or involving 2 things, something close to dual or double. And of course, we hear about the pronouns a lot today. I told this in the promo that we had to go the other day. You may think making an 11 a.m. appointment is not hard, but for us it is, because we don't usually leave the house till 1 o'clock in the afternoon a lot of times. But now that the weather's getting nice, I want to experience some of the spring mornings. Happy spring, everybody. Happy spring. Yes, 21st is the first full day of spring. And I think it used to be considered the arrival of spring when I was younger. Maybe Becca knows about that. But we it's kind of a drive-in. It's adjacent to the big complex that we go to, where a lot of our doctors are. Not all of them, but a lot of our doctors are there. And it looks like a garage, and you kind of drive into it, and then someone comes out. And I didn't even notice, but Karen was looking across from me. I don't know if this was a nurse or just a nurse's aide, technician, whatever. She was going to do the COVID test, because if you're going to have surgery, they want you to have a COVID test first. That's how it goes. So, and there used to be a long line of cars, and now there ain't nobody. Not too many people getting the boosters. Not too many people doing it. So she was going to close up at 11 o'clock and be gone. We had to make sure we got there in time. And so Karen noticed that she had a badge that said my pronouns, didn't say her name of any kind, but it said my pronouns are they and them. And so as we're driving away and Karen tells me this, I'm saying, well, I'm not sure how I would get that into a sentence. I mean, I probably won't call her anything. But if I was seeing her in an office setting or something like that, I might want to call her by her name, but that name isn't on that tag. It's they or them. So how would you get that into hello, they or them? They don't want you to say that. Makes no sense. So I understand one thing she doesn't want to be called. She doesn't want to be called Miss. She definitely doesn't want to be called Miss. And if it's a guy with the name tag, he definitely doesn't want to be called Sir. I get it. I get that part. But pronouns, a word that can function by itself as a noun phrase that refers either to the participants in the discourse or to someone or something mentioned elsewhere in the discourse. An example would be she, it, this. A third person pronoun by which an individual wishes to be referred to. See, I think they changed this. If we would have looked a third person pronoun up in the 70s, it wouldn't have said it quite like this. A third person pronoun by which an individual wishes to be referred to in order to indicate their gender identity. So there is that. My monologue, and then we'll make it more lighthearted. Although you're free to comment on this topic if you want to. Since we're living in a world that is ever changing, we got to touch on some of this stuff too. But all topics are open. It's reasonable if someone doesn't want to be called sir or miss in a workplace or a school. They can voice their preference to strangers. What they don't get to do is force another person to speak exactly how someone demands that they do. Just like free speech doesn't include the right to yell fire in a crowded theater, a man doesn't have the right to call a waitress honey, sweetie, or baby or babe. Men of a certain age, like me, men of a certain age have lived to see a lot less of that going on, a lot less of that. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Unwelcome flirting is not acceptable. But, and my son talked about this, and he's a lot more liberal than his father. Um, there is definitely a double standard that we've noticed, and it continues in 2023. It's still in place. In my life, I've seen endearing terms and touching employed by many, many women targeting other males or myself if another better looking person wasn't around. I used to work at a radio station. I was the overnight guy, but then I became the midday guy. And there were a few, I guess you would call them really hot jocks, really hot jocks that the secretaries downstairs, for example, liked. And there was this one evening DJ that certainly liked them. And her last name on the air was Fox. That wasn't her real name, but she used the name Fox on the air as her last name. And so I would notice all the attention these jocks were getting. But then eventually I was on the list too. I had my big permed afro then, in my late 20s. And I was on the list, but I was definitely not the first choice. I couldn't compete with a jock who called himself Bobby T in the afternoon drive, or John Perry, not his real name either, who did the evening shift. These guys could have been on TV or the movies, especially John Perry. Uh, but I noticed that there was a lot of flirting going on then, but throughout my life, I've observed this so many times by many women targeting other males or myself. Sometimes the objective is a better tip if it's a waitress or a genuine interest. The reality is that if it's geared at a heterosexual or a bisexual man, the behavior is often welcomed. Men like that. Men like that and don't get offended. It's accepted, or at least it's tolerated. Men often like it when someone flirts. They do. They're not going to file a report. They're not going to file a report. Nothing wrong with filing a report if somebody's out of line, but men are just simply less likely to do that. Even if they are uncomfortable, many men would feel like a wimp if they spoke up. Now in 2023, we have a relatively small group of people trying to force their will on everybody else. The hairy man who says he identifies as a woman can waltz into your 16-year-old daughter's locker room and change in front of her and get to see her changing. No privacy respected. He can compete with a woman in sports and win just about every time. Anyone who doesn't cave to unfair and ridiculous demands is labeled transphobe, homophobe, xenophobe, any kind of phobe you can come up with, you know. From small children being forced into watching drag shows, taken there sometimes by their parents, even in the state of Texas. What the heck is going on when this stuff kind of happens in Texas, where you see a young child with his parents at a drag show and they are going up to some hairy guy wearing a G string and putting money in his G string? I'm talking about a 10-year-old boy. This shows you how we have lost our minds. Um, and then, of course, there's the cutting off of breast of a 13-year-old girl or a chemically castrating a young boy. We are living in a world gone mad. Children can make life altering decisions, sometimes with the permission of their parents, sometimes not, decisions that they will later regret very much. Parents who approve of this have no understanding of the amount of years involved for a male or a female to make informed, carefully thought out decisions, the time it takes to fully mature. Women tend to mature faster than men. But if you have altering surgery, there's really no going back. All of a sudden, we have an outbreak of children tortured because they feel they are not truly the sex that they were born with. This didn't go on so much in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or even the 2000s, but now here we are. We are told that there are tortured children. It's not because they have emotional issues. It's not because they're being bullied in school. It's not because they have depression or what have you. It's because they're in a body of they're trapped in the wrong body. They're trapped in the wrong body. And you can't help but think that society puts that idea into their head, puts that idea, or television, you know, society in general, media, Facebook, Twitter, etc. They read about it and they start to think, gee, maybe that's my problem. I'm a boy, but I should be a girl. And at 12 or 13 years old, as Bill Maher has said, you're simply not ready to make those kind of life altering decisions. These are feelings, nothing more than current feelings. And those feelings will likely change. Oops, too late, too late. Feelings change like the wind, like the wind. Clueless parents appear on TV. I saw this when I was down, I think, in maybe in Walterboro, South Carolina. Maybe that's where I saw it. They appear on TV like PBS, and the tears flow as that they complain that the laws in the state they live in do not support surgery, which amounts to child abuse. Just another sign that we are in the last days, and that's my monologue on that. Joanne Cooper joins us. Joanne Cooper Troop. That reminds me of Bobby Troop from MASH. And she says that stuff is sick. And I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I'll go to prison, Joseph Kelly says, if a guy goes into a restroom with my daughter. It's just absolutely absurd. We have 1% or less, and in some cities, it's far less than 1%, trying to take the rights away of the majority. I don't have anything against transgender people. I don't. I, you know, from a spiritual standpoint, I don't see it justified in the scriptures. I'll say that much. But I don't have anything against transgender people. It's funny that Bruce Jenner, who became Caitlyn, is a spokesman now on Fox News. You know, a regular guest on Fox News. He went all the way. That's commitment. That's my exception to the rule of the locker room. If you are that committed as Bruce Jenner was, I guess you can go into the female locker room if you're committed enough to, you know, snip snip. But most times they're not committed to do that at all. Um, I'll go to prison if a guy goes into a restroom with my daughter. If it will cost them to be in a body bag. Well, just say how you feel, Joseph. I'm not advocating violence here, of course, but I understand your frustration. I understand your frustration. I don't want to see violence committed against any group, and I'm certainly not against transgender people, but everybody's rights have to be considered. Everybody's rights. We are the sensible ones, says Shelley B. And someone was talking about the vaccine, no jabs. I don't think too many people are getting the fourth booster. I got the shot. I got the second shot. You know, if you go back to that time, I saw people right here in the hospital here in this city going into the hospital and dying in the hospital. And I had to, I knew very well that this could turn out to be, in retrospect, it could be something bad, or it could just be that it doesn't do what they said and all that. But I took a gamble. You know, I took a gamble because I didn't want to be laying in the hospital and them saying, you know, I'm sorry, sir, we're going to have to put you on a respirator, because I know people that were on one. I know a gentleman. I know a gentleman who was basically in a self-induced medic. I shouldn't say so. He didn't do it. A medical induced coma for 3 months, and they were getting ready to pull the plug, and uh, his wife said, give him one more week, give him one more week. And they did, and he started to come out of it. And I saw him today at Honda. He's the showroom manager. We had a little chit chat. I asked him if he was being a good boy, and he says, no, too late to change now, he said. He's a good looking guy, a ladies man kind of thing, that, you know, but anyway, he was almost down for the count. And he bounced back. He had about a week before they were going to pull the plug on him. He had all kinds of long COVID symptoms. He could not drive for months. Now he's walking better. He had a hole in his back. You know, they left him in one position for too long, and it was just a mess. He went through so much. You know, he went through so much. So I took well, we don't get too many messages retracted. I wonder what you said, Carol, but welcome, Carol. If you're still here, welcome. I'm glad that you are. If I've missed any new people, I welcome you. Tuesday nights are going to be a little quieter than the weekend when everybody's, you know, free from work and what have you. But I know we have a lot of retirees here, too. We have a lot of retirees. Yeah, we understand, Joseph. Don't blame you. I am a mom with 2 adult kids. Well, my two kids are adults too now. Got to speak to my daughter today in Austin, Texas, and my granddaughter, and also my son Corey, going out to Texas. It looks like in May, going out to Texas in May, to spend time with my daughter and granddaughter, and my son will show up at some point when he's off the road. I won't get as much time with him, not when you're an 18-wheeler driver. Someday I may go out on the road with him, you know. I may go out on the road with him, but that won't be in May. Well, thank you for, you know, the support there. it's just it's in my gut that once in a while we got to talk about what's going on around us. This is not really the forum where I would do particularly a spiritual video. Um, uh, I would do that in a recorded video, but certainly, you know, we have to acknowledge that our world is ever changing, and it's getting a little darker and a little bit sicker every day. We have people that are politicizing the law. They're trying to enact new laws. They're trying to persecute people of the opposite party. It's no longer, well, you won fair and square. You won fair and square. No, now we have a bunch of shenanigans. We have a bunch of shenanigans. Instead of having election day, we have months where you can vote. Mail in, go to the drop off and put your envelopes in there. And we will drive you. We will do whatever it has to do. And now have illegals come into the country and let them vote before they become citizens, you know? Uh, People are people. They're all God's people. Of course, we can't have countries, large amounts of people from a number of countries come into America, leave their country and come into America just to walk in, you know. But I certainly, as I've said before, I understand the pain of living in a place like Juarez, Mexico, where you fear for your life and you fear for your kids' lives. Of course, we have so many cities here in America now that are turning into war zones because of woke prosecutors that let you know they're not going to prosecute this and they're not going to prosecute that. DA Bragg here in New York, who's in the headlines so much right now. When he got in his first day, he was saying, "I'm not going to prosecute this and I'm not going to prosecute that." The criminals heard that. They started raiding the stores. He's just created so much havoc. He's let people out, violent people out, who a few days later would murder. There was a Asian woman that was walking to her apartment when she was attacked by one of the guys that DA Bragg let out, and they found her dead in her apartment. There was footage of him following her into the building, you know, and they found her dead in the apartment. That blood is on his hands. That blood is on his hands. You take an oath. I mean, it's prosecutorial misconduct should be disbarred, but you know, there's a whole different set of rules now uh, for these uh, for these progressive DAs in places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, destroying our country. How is it in Australia, Shelley? What's the atmosphere there? Do you get to go into the local jewelry store in Sydney, Shelley B, and in broad daylight and smash the glass and steal millions of dollars of jewelry and run out within 3 minutes? Does that kind of thing happen in Australia? I'd like to know. Hello, Patricia Hanson. Hello to you. She's saying hello to all. I'm glad you're here. I know that name. I know that name. And yes, thank you for liking. Please do. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love that. And all topics are available for you. Any questions or comments about any subject that you enjoy that's on your heart? We had a lot of fun Saturday night talking about crushes. Um, Karen, for the first time in the last live Saturday night video, in the replay time, she commented and thanked everybody for praying for her surgery, and then she listed her crushes, and I'm trying to remember there was 6 or 7. So, you know, this is no sense pretending that we don't have them. We all have crushes outside of our immediate relationship. I missed a big one who was born Becca in 1956. Here's a famous person that was born in 1956. She is still 66. She won't turn 67 until October, I believe. Yeah, October of 2023. But talk about a crush and talk about someone that is on Facebook that, oh, she gets so much response. It's not even her that runs the group. But I'm talking about Marsha. Maureen McCormick. Maureen McCormick. There she is, in a fairly recent photo. The Scotch tape reveals that, yes, it's on the wall. She's part of my over 200 photos. I do have a Brady Bunch section, few pictures, just a few from the Brady Bunch. My thought was that she would hook up with Christopher Knight. That was always, I thought she was destined for him. But she's married to someone else now. And of course, here she is as Marsha, and just one of the most beautiful women, even to this day. She does every Thanksgiving, I think, if not other times. She works outside, an outside soup kitchen in Los Angeles, I think, and hands out Thanksgiving dinners and stuff like that. Um, she was in a few movies, but she had problems after the Brady Bunch. Get her biography. I read it, her autobiography, and it was fascinating. Um, she um, she got into drugs for a while, and she was very vulnerable in this time. She went to the Playboy Mansion, as so many stars did, on party night, where they were always having a party on the weekend. Uh, Twice a year, Hef would have a really big party. He would have a really big party, and major stars, James Caan, for example, some of the people that were in The Godfather, and major movie stars would know about this party. And they'd be in the middle of a movie and they say, now, I got to go away for a couple of days. We've got to stop shooting on a Thursday because I got to go to Hef's party. They put that in their contract that they weren't going to miss Hef's party. It was like this wonderland of fantasy and pleasure, and just everything from an excellent buffet to the what they call the grotto, the swimming pool, and lots of sights to see and what have you for someone who was looking for the pleasure zone. And Maureen showed up there, and when she did, it was like, she just walked into a shark pool. She had to quickly find someone that would kind of protect her, because um, everybody loved Maureen McCormick, and there's many that still do. What she didn't know is that every single room in the Hefner Mansion, in the Playboy Mansion, was there. There was a camera in every single bedroom. In every single bedroom there was. Kathleen is here. Jack, can I get prayers from my Siberian Husky? She hasn't eaten in 5 days, and I don't know if she'll live. We just buried one of our treasured cats, Kaz Reed. I call him Kaz, Kaz. Um, our favorite one. He lived a wonderful life, Kaz. And then we saw that he was deteriorating and he had kidney trouble. Is that what's happening, Kathleen? So, yeah, absolutely. Just lift up prayers. I only know one God to pray for in three manifestations: God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We lift up Kathleen's treasured husky, and we ask that you would extend his life and heal him of what's going on inside the body. We ask that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Um, yeah, they're part of the family. Karen is more of a dog person than I am, but that doesn't mean I don't like dogs, don't love dogs. if I anytime I would go to a job and there would be stray animals around, the first time I saw that stray animal, I did a note. And the next time I showed up, I had cat food and dog food, whatever required, whether it be in North Carolina, when I was doing security at a hotel or what have you, working for a South Carolina company. It was right over the border. So yeah, I hope you guys will join me in that. Um, Shelly B, I don't think your crush is here. I think I know who you're referring to. She's the troublemaker, that Shelly B, you know. She is. We have someone new, Larshep. Okay, Bob Joyce looked at all aspects, such as speaking voice, not Elvis, singing very close, nose the same, ears not the same, and teeth not the same. I do not, in my opinion, believe Bob is Elvis. And Larshep, you are certainly entitled to that opinion. I myself have said I only speak of possibilities. I could be wrong. Um, Getting into detail, you're talking about that wings of, uh, how do you say it? I usually know how to say that word, Pegasus, Wings of Pegasus, who did a voice analysis, and he came up with the conclusion. Other voice people have said that that they don't agree with him. One person years later doing a voice analysis and expecting an older Elvis to sound like the young Elvis. There was a lot of pushback on that. I can tell you that. I don't do the nose, the teeth. I've heard about the chickenpox scar, the pinky that Elvis broke his pinky, and they say Bob's pinky is broken, crooked as well. I don't get into that. That's JJB, who is on both Facebook and now on TikTok, and he does that. You know, I never got into that. It's just my area, but I responded to what you said, and that topic. If people bring it up, I will respond to it. Don't have anything to add. Breaking news, yes, but I'm not looking to do any more Bob Joyce videos, unless it's breaking news. And yeah, I'm kind of, trying to move on to new topics, but this live stream is for you and what you care about. And we'll talk about what you care about. Okay. So, where you from, Larshep? Where are you watching? We have a list here of states and countries. I wouldn't want to miss where you may be from, especially if it's not on my list. Although I'm thrilled if it's from, if you're from right here in New York, wherever you may be. I always like to know where you're from. Still haven't heard from anyone in the state of Maine. I feel closer to God when I'm in the state of Maine. There's just something very magical about the state of Maine. I think what we're going to do this summer is we're going to go up to Sanford, Maine, right like it looks like an airport, I think. And that's where they hold the Renaissance Fair in July, I believe. And we know two performers that are going to be in it that used to perform at the New York Renaissance Fair in Tuxedo. The first date that Karen and I ever went on as an adult couple in 2010 was at the Renaissance Fair in Tuxedo, New York. We went to the French mime guy. That was the first show that we ever saw, and that was the first time uh, I held her hand in 2010, even though we've known each other since 1965. The first time I ever said, let me make a move here and grab her hand and hold it, see if she pulls away, and she didn't pull away. That was the first time. Got to talk more about the Renaissance Fair. Yeah. But there is one in Sanford, Maine, and we may check that out because we were at there's a place called Sugarloaf here. It's a very witchy town, lots of new age stuff and what have you, which I don't subscribe to. But they have a food, and they used to have live bands. This last time they didn't have live bands. It's also where the Sugarloaf Theater is. Excuse me. And once again, the Sugarloaf Theater, up to 20 people, is open for business. And in April, Mickey Dolenz, who's 78 years old, the Monkees, will be there. I've seen Mickey already several times, and I only have limited um, uh, money in my budget. The entertainment budget's, it's smaller than it used to be. The Bacon Brothers are coming to the Sugarloaf Theater. Kevin Bacon, and what's his brother's name? I don't know a single song that the Bacon Brothers do. I'd be going just because it's Kevin Bacon, who's a fine actor. I've certainly seen some of his work, and not just Footloose, but other stuff as well. And then I see his commercials with his daughter for the Hyundai Ionic 5. Oh boy, it goes 360 miles. So if I've got 40 miles left and I get caught in the world's biggest traffic jam, I guess I'm going to break down right there on the highway, huh? I mean, I'd be able to get over if the traffic is like 4 lanes or something. So you, I'm not sold. I'm not sold. A hybrid, fine, fine. But a fully electric car, you think of the charging stations and what they're going to look like down the road with cars lined up forever, the power grid in the summer going down, the cost of electric, how much is it going to cost to charge a vehicle? And they think they're going to fix the ozone and everything. AOC says we have 12 years, and if we don't cut emissions by 50%, we're all toast. And I mean, if you want to think of someone filled with wisdom, doesn't AOC come to mind? Oh man, I saw her blabbering away earlier this evening. So you're in the state of Florida. You don't mean Florida, New York, right? Yeah, I was down in Port St. Lucie about 3 weeks ago or so, and uh, Walterboro, South Carolina. Before that, I left when there were two storms, and the week I was away, and got to stay in the sleep in where the Triple A New York Mets were. They were trying out for the big team, and they were going to the field in Port St. Lucie. I have been to Cloverfield once, even though I'm a Yankee fan. But I love Florida. Someone asked me, "Cole, good night, Becca. Thank you for stopping by. Stop by again and watch the replay if you can." Um, I have to get up early, Jack, so I have to go. I'm ish. I wish you all a good night. Happy birthday once again. Thank you very much, Becca. I'm so glad you stopped by. I'm so glad you're part of the family here at the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. Um, Kidney problems for who? For the dog, or for someone else? For a human being? A human being. Um, but I love your state, and I certainly love your governor, Larship. I think you're going to, well, I don't know. One of the things that's happening with this DA Bragg possibly getting ready to arrest Donald Trump is he's rallying the base incredibly. And this could help Trump push past Ron DeSantis this time around to make Ron wait to 2028. I know there's a lot of people in Florida that would like it if he stayed around, and because you never know what you're going to get. My God, you're not going to get Charlie Crist. Nobody wants him anymore. But yeah, absolutely. It is. I've lost my train of thought. My train went off the tracks, which is a popular thing that seems to be happening. I'm wondering, though, with all these train derailments and what have you, it just seems a little suspicious, doesn't it? I mean, we've had major train derailments. We've had power plants that were compromised. We've had, you know, uh, water supplies. You gotta watch out for the water supplies. And how do you do that with all those miles of water? We're more vulnerable than we would like to Think, okay, Larshep, the dream ticket is Trump DeSantis. You know what they're going to say if that happens, right? Well, there's the white people's ticket. Yeah, all white. There's the Republican Party. Got no diversity there. We think they're racist, and look, there's their ticket. Well, let me tell you, watch the speakers on MSNBC. Watch some of the opinion hosts and some of the anchors even on CNN. And this is true if there was ever a truism spoke. The people, maybe the view too, the people that yell racist the most, the people that are always saying racist, 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 they, they are the real racists. They are the ones. They are racist against white people. They try to proclaim that white people are against them, and and yeah, there's always going to be your redneck bubbas. There always have been, always will be, I suppose. But it is so unfair when they do this because they're trying to get things like reparations. That's the big thing now. I think it's going to happen in San Francisco. California is going broke. The governor doesn't know how to run the state, and yet they didn't recall him. He could have had Larry Elders as the governor of California. Larry Elders is a fine, decent man who does a radio show. And is on TV a lot and tells you to get your relief factor. That's Larry Elders. And he would have done a much better job, just like Lee Zeldin would have been very good for New York. But the woke progressives came out, they walked in if they had to, and I saw it happening in real time. And they made sure that we got stuck with Kathy Hochul, who started saying, you know, she's got so many liberal, progressive beliefs. And she said, well, if you don't believe this, you don't share our values here in New York. Just leave. She said this, you know. And guess what? There were companies, not just people, but companies that said, okay, Kathy Hochul, we're going to leave. And they started looking to other states like, Florida, and some countries. You know, sometimes we lose here in America a business to another country where they're not going to face such hostility and rules and laws and taxation. So that wouldn't be the UK. They're pretty high taxation there, I imagine. Because Elton John moved to Atlanta, Georgia, because the taxes were too high in the UK. He still has a place in the UK, but you know, primary residence is outside of Atlanta, Georgia now, or in Atlanta. I don't know. Bob Joyce is Elvis. That's the heading. That's who this couple, I know who they are, but if you don't say your names, I won't. Happy birthday, Jack. I was listening to Modern Day Renaissance Man, and he said that Bob Joyce sounds exactly like Elvis Presley, even though it's a couple years old, and I totally agree. Well, since your heading is Bob Joyce's Elvis, I kind of got the idea. And you know, I won't say your first name, um, but I do think of an actor whose last name was what you find in a lot of cereals. You know what I'm talking about, buddy? Can you get that? How old are you? You won't know the actor I'm talking about if you don't. If you if you if you if you don't have snow on your roof, or at least would have if you didn't put paint on your roof. You know what I'm saying? Um, we last I checked, still lived in the United States of America, and you can have your opinions, you can have your views, and you can speak of possibilities, and you can speak of all a whole bunch of coincidences that you notice and beyond coincidences. When I say the word coincidence, I'm really saying there are too many coincidences for them to be coincidences, but I could still be wrong. It could be just the greatest story of coincidences in my lifetime. So, although I'm not planning any new videos except for real breaking news, you are certainly welcome here in the United States of America, since this is not Russia, this is not North Korea, this is not uh, China. You're certainly welcome to say that. That's what the live streams are for. Think you've been stood up, says Shelly B. I told you she was a troublemaker, Kathleen. Is she something else? Joseph Kelly says, what actor? Bob Joyce says, Elvis says, ha ha. Okay. Yeah. Oh, what actor? Well, I'm not going to say it because I'm giving his name out then if I do that. See, and if he's going under Bob Joyce's Elvis as his title and telling me his name in private, I can't. I can't do that. Can't do that. Something about Trump there. Let me see what it said. Jack, do you think they will arrest Trump? I was starting to think that D.A. Bragg was having second thoughts because this is going to highlight every stupid thing he ever did, every murder he's responsible for, all his terrible record, people being violently assaulted because he let some bozo out of prison that should never have been let out. I'm all for minor crime. If it's a situation where if you had money, you could get out, but you're poor, so you have to stay in jail. I get that. I get that that's not right. I get that it's not right. But, you know, I never thought it would be the kind of crimes that are happening now. You steal a pack of gum from a 7-Eleven, that's one thing. You're still going to have a court appearance and you have to show up and you'll have a record. But you steal millions of dollars of jewelry or you destroy a convenience store. There was a restaurant, Asian restaurant in Queens. This happened a few weeks ago. This band of what looked to be teenage boys just came in. This guy had put a lot of careful thought into his restaurant, and his customers loved him. And they caused about $2,000-3,000 of damage, just breaking everything they could find. They didn't steal money. They didn't hurt anybody there. They just tore the place up and then ran out. And it was kind of like I saw the look on this owner's face, and it was like, why would they do this to me? Why would they do this to me? It was kind of like the great Hideki Matsui when he was on the New York Yankees. This man never had one episode where he lost, that I can remember, lost control of his emotions or whatever, ever tried to get even or do anybody wrong. He was a legend from Japan. So often when they come over to play American baseball, whether they're a pitcher or whatever, they're not as good. It's much harder here in the United States and in the American League or the National League, But Hideki Matsui delivered. He was a wonderful guy, but they had a grudge against the Yankees because they felt that their pitcher had hit one of their batters intentionally, which is a terrible thing. If the manager told me to hit the pitcher, I think I would tell the manager, I'm not doing that. I don't know how that would go. It depends on how big of a star you are. If you're a rookie, it could be real bad for you. If you're, somebody like Giancarlo, then you'll be all right. But so they literally hit Hideki, not in the face, but they hit him hard and he was in a lot of pain. And he just looks at the pitcher. Now, another one would be charging the mound and they'd have to hold him back. He just looks at him like, why would you do that to me? Why would you do that to me? He didn't understand. That's a good man there. That's a good man. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. We got a lot of people out there that want to have their own vengeance because they don't like free speech. They don't like opinions that they don't agree with and what have you. But Hideki Matsui was a good, honorable man. Your your honor is proved when it comes to loving your enemies or your perceived enemies. Scripture says, love your enemies. That if you don't forgive others of their sin, the Lord will not forgive you of your sin. How many times should you forgive? 70 times 7. 70 times 7. Um, I'm not impressed with somebody that goes to church on Sunday morning. And this is true in my own life too. I'm speaking to myself just as much as anybody who thinks, that I could be speaking to them. I'm speaking about myself. It's what do I do when the pastor's not looking? What do I do then? When the church isn't looking. As Father Bill, we used to videotape weddings, my first wife and I, and uh, Father Bill was giving the sermon, you could call it, at the wedding, and he was saying that God sees everything. Uh, I'm happy when I'm in the will of God and doing God's will. And as a new couple, I challenge you to serve God because I know that God sees everything I do, everything I do. So there you go. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Um, Anytime, and I think this is true of any Christian, anytime you start coming against a brother, if you don't feel a conviction in your heart that your anger is out of place, then you might have to go back to square one. That would be my feeling. Be my feeling. How do we get off on that tangent? Let me see. I think, yeah, see if I don't lift that up, I'll be back in the old comments and stuck. That happened on Saturday night. I thought everything had completely slowed down, and I didn't realize that I had stopped my own stream of comments here on the right. Um, yes, the name Larry has been mentioned. I see. I kidded Shelly B that maybe we'll have a channel wedding here, a channel wedding. Yeah. Other than that, what else would you like to talk about tonight? I won't go too long on this. If Tuesday nights are more difficult. They're more difficult. But as in terms of this Saturday night, I would guess probably not. Karen is having surgery on Thursday, and we will see how that goes. I'm going to be praying hard, and I thank you for your prayers, and she thanks you for your prayers. Hi, Cheryl. How's it going? Everhart. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember where you're from. Um, you told me already, I think. So it's hard to remember it all. But DeSantis is DS. DS. When you say DS, I think of Dark Shadows because I watch the show so often. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for your happy birthday wish. I guess it's now getting officially that it's no longer my 67th birthday. But I still got more of that pineapple whipped cream cake, which means I'm going to have to walk a lot, and I have to anyway. I was out there today, and it was in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees, and that's heaven. That's heaven, because we've had so many chilly. We had some. We had some. I don't want to say single digits, but close to single digits. 15 degrees, 12 degrees, 13 degrees sometimes in January and February, and then it would warm up for a little bit. Shelley B says in Sydney, a beautiful Christian family with 6 children had 3 of them plus a niece killed by a drunk driver. That wonderful couple were able to forgive that driver. How incredible. I have a video that we recorded outside in the backyard here at the virtual church talking about forgiveness. And I did put up the video, also the outside video. This goes back to like 2016, 2017, that shows me standing in front of our fenced in gazebo I want to do more outside broadcasting, and put the video up here. I want to do a little bit of that. That would be cool, especially when we're on the road. If I can do something from the Renaissance Fair in Sanford, Maine, and what have you, and other spots that we may go to this summer, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. But I do have to get out to Austin, Texas, and see my baby granddaughter. I hate being so far away, like 1,800 miles. 1,800 miles. So yeah. Got 19 people on right now. Pretty respectable for a Tuesday night. We've been doing pretty good in the playback. I know that the title is very important, but I don't want to rely on the magic words all the time. I'm hoping that people can talk about what they want here in the live stream, but I don't want to mention those words if that's what it takes to get an audience. I'm in serious trouble. I'm in serious trouble. Um, I know Michael is out there from the UK because I'll hear from him tonight. He's a lot of fun, and I appreciate him. He was talking about he was in the Anne Margaret camp for one of his crushes, and certainly, truly one of the most beautiful women, Anne Margaret. Yeah. Favorite actors? Oh my goodness, there's so many. Certainly Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau together were incredible, but Mr. Lemmon by himself was also wonderful as well. There are some actors like Anthony Hopkins. I will watch the movie just because they're in it, and I'm almost never disappointed. Yeah, Marianne Rossi going to sleep now. Prayers for Karen, and good night to everyone. See you next time. Stop in Arkansas. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm welcome in Arkansas myself. I don't want to walk into a bad experience. I love Pastor Bob Joyce so much, and um, the people who have spoke about him have had a lot to do with people finding him, and then they heard him preach the gospel so wonderfully, so wonderfully. Pastor Bob decided in 2011 to go on YouTube. And they knew, John Cook and he, at the time it was John Cook, knew that they would get a big reaction, and they did. They did. And but the Holy Spirit has contained the reaction, and God's will be done. God's will be done. So good night, Marianne. I'm so glad that you came by. Yes, sweet dreams. And thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Kathleen. Uh, Gender fluid? Well, you have to watch the replay then. I see you came a little late. I talk about the whole thing and I do an opening monologue, but I'll give you the quick definition, which is now on the floor. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Haven't you heard that term used a lot? Don't you watch CNN or Fox or whatever? It's a thing that everybody's talking about right now. Right now. And I did a monologue on the times we live in, talking about some of the what I see as child abuse going on out there. Um, Gender fluid, denoting or relating to a person who does not identify as having a single unchanging gender. That's what that means. Don't say that they're a guy. Don't say they're a woman. They'll be offended by that. It's whatever they want to be on that day, and that's how that goes. I'm not judging anyone, but what is happening is a small amount of people are trying to force 99% of the population to speak exactly in their terms. And that, again, this is not North Korea here. Um, Everyone is going to be offended in this life, and we have to grow a thick skin. That's why comedy is getting so difficult to do now. There's a Fox Nation special, "The Death of Comedy," where comics have literally been attacked on stage by people that are offended by what they said, and the joke was not that offensive. So Chris Rock, I don't always like his language and what have you, but he starts right off by saying, "I'm not here to offend anybody, but people can be offended," and basically says that that's part of life. That's part of life, and then he finally goes into talking about Will and Jada Smith. Will and Jada Smith, and he says some good things. Bill Maher says some good things. I have heard. I have heard that Bill Maher is going to go on Tucker Carlson. During the last month, Tucker's ratings have gone up even further. He's trouncing, well, he was already trouncing Anderson Cooper, who sold out any objectivity to, so filled with hate for Trump that they lose all objectivity as a reporter, and they lost their audience too, and they should have lost their audience. Too bad there's great field reporters like Ben Wiedemann and Phil Black and Carissa Ward. These are great reporters that deserve anchors, including Mr. Blitzer, that haven't sold out their credibility, in my opinion. That's what I would say about that. So I do a full monologue on that, Kathleen, about the times we live in. We talk about genderqueer, binary pronouns. I tell the story of what happened when we went to get Karen a COVID test. So, because she's having surgery and they're requiring that. So that's all there. That's all there. So I don't know, guys, when I'll be back with you, because I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't rely on crystal balls. I rely on the Lord Jesus Christ. I do. So as soon as if it's possible to come on Saturday night, I will. I just don't know yet. I just don't know. But of course, we promo it before we do it, so you'll know all about it. Georgia, South Atlanta. Yeah, okay. I understand. How's the crime rate where you are? I know they've had a lot of trouble in downtown Atlanta lately. There's been a lot of protesting, what have you. They even damaged the CNN building during the BLM time when the world was on fire there. And we want to give reparations. Let's give reparations to all those businesses owned by, many cases, black people or white people that had their business burned down, why the founders of BLM went on to buy luxury mansions and kind of retire from the movement. Oi, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yeah, changing genders is like the latest thing to do. That's the latest thing to do. But when it involves children and them undergoing procedures when they're 11, 12, 13 years old, that is just fundamentally wrong on so many levels, I would say. I would say once you're over 18 and you want to do that, you can, your insurance covers that, or you gonna pay for it. That's up to you. That's your choice to make. I always said that if someone's able to go off to war and fight, they ought to be able to have a beer legally. I never understood why you can fight at 18 in a war, but you can't legally drink till you're 21. And I'm not advocating drinking, because it often leads to excessive drinking. So that's it. I thank you all, Kathleen, Heather, Marianne, Shelly B, Shelly H, and my couple that loves Elvis Presley. Thank you too as well. Thanks for the show, she says. Please give Karen my love, and I'll continue to pray. I thank you so much for that. Prayers for Karen, says Kathleen. Wonderful. I hope to see you real soon. Big God bless you. Talk to you soon.